I personally like to entertain when certain flowers are at their peak, such as late April when the daffodils are at their most glorious, or in mid-July when the daylilies are at their peak. However, you could serve these foods anytime. The first recipe is lemon cream puffs with apricot sauce. Now, if you've never made cream puffs before, you'll be surprised at how easy they are to do, and they do make a dream dessert. I'm going to give you some special hints as we go along that will absolutely ensure you of perfect cream puffs. Here are the ingredients for the cream puff part. 1 cup of hot water, 1/2 teaspoon salt, 6 tablespoons of butter at room temperature, 1 cup of all-purpose flour, and 4 large or 5 medium eggs at room temperature. Now bring the hot water, butter, and salt just to a boil. Don't overboil because you will have too much evaporation and it'll throw off the proportions. Now add the flour all at once and then lower the heat and immediately begin beating the mixture with a wooden spoon. And you're going to want to do this about 2 or 3 minutes, and I'll explain why as I beat. See how quickly it's coming together here? And that's just the way it's supposed to. When the product is ready, or the cream puffs are ready to be taken off the stove, the dough, which is already happening, the dough leaves the sides of the pan and forms a ball. See? That's just what it's doing. The mixture is cooked when the water is all absorbed and the paste becomes a soft, cohesive ball of dough. And I certainly think that describes this mixture. Now, cooking the dough allows the flour particles to swell and all the water to evaporate. It should have a silky sheen and look sort of like, I hate to admit this, but instant mashed potatoes. Then, what you want to do, but you do want to continue doing this for 2 to 3 minutes, and my buzzer hasn't gone off yet, so I'm going just to move this aside and show you the one that we have prepared here. This is what it looks like when it's all done. And then transfer this immediately from the pan into the mixer bowl. And then you're going to let this cool for approximately 2 minutes. And why you're doing that is because if you started adding the eggs right away, you'd cook them and you'd have hard-cooked eggs. You might as well have a picnic instead of cream puffs. So then we're going to pretend that this has been cooled 2 minutes, and it has been. And then we're going to add the eggs one at a time, beating 1 minute after each addition. And this is going to get whipped into the mixture, and then I'm going to move away so you can hear me. This mixture should be vigorously beaten at this stage so it incorporates lots of air and lightness into the paste. Now, you want to integrate all the eggs in this fashion. Beat all 4 eggs in, beat them for a minute after each addition, then beat 3 minutes more on medium speed. And at that point, the mixture resembles a creamy butter frosting. And then you cover and you refrigerate this for 1 hour. Now preheat the oven to 450 for at least 10 minutes in advance, and even longer is better because when you put the cream puffs in, you want the heat to shock the dough, and that just brings them right up. Then prepare your pan, and you'll need 2 jelly roll pans, and you can either spray them or use parchment paper, which I really like. Now this is the cream puff dough after it has been chilled for an hour. See that? It looks more now like firm frosting. And I'm going to use the cookie scoop because that way I will be assured of getting evenly shaped puffs. And it's 2 inches in diameter. And we're just going to put 6 puffs on each one of these sheets because they really will puff, hence their name. I've been making cream puffs for just ages because my mother started me out early. She thought this would be fun. Now, put these right here on these parchment paper. I really adore parchment paper. I've started using it probably about 5 years ago, and now I could hardly bake without it. And you know what? You can use it over and over again, so it's really quite economical. Now, what you want to do with these puffs, come here, you rascal. One more here. These are just going to blow your mind when I put them out of the oven. That's because I know that they worked, of course. But I've never had this recipe fail, so yours won't fail either. Now, bake these at 450 degrees for 15 minutes. Lower the heat to 350 degrees and bake 30 minutes longer. And never, never open the door during the baking. However, the minute that 30 minutes is up, turn off the oven. Open the door then completely and let the puffs cool gradually for 1 hour in the oven with the door open. And this is, I promise you, this is what they'll look like when they're done. Oh, I love cooking. What is so successful? Really, cream puffs are an ethereal sort of thing, a miracle, actually chemistry. These are going to be filled with lemon custard today. And here are the ingredients for that delicious lemon filling. 4 egg yolks beaten, 2 cups of sugar, 1/3 cup fresh lemon juice, approximately the juice of 2 lemons, 1 tablespoon grated lemon zest, a speck of salt, 4 rounded tablespoons of cornstarch dissolved in 1/2 cup of cold water, and that's to thicken the mixture with, and then add 2 cups of boiling water to the whole thing. Now what we're going to do is add the sugar, the lemon juice, the zest, and the salt to the beaten eggs, and we have them right here. And you want to use a little electric hand mixer, and to that then add the sugar. And you want this quite well combined at this point, and that's going to take a while. So as I was thinking about this kind of sugar being used for my contemporary pudding, I want to tell you a little bit about earlier sugar forms. See this? This is a sugar cone. And for centuries, sugar was a prized commodity. And for more than 400 years, into the late 19th century, sugar was sold in cone-shaped loaves just like these. And they did vary in size, and the housewife would cut off the amount she needed, and then she had even a special tool for it. They were called nippers. And then the big chunks of the sugar off of this cone were ground up into granules. In the meantime, the sugar cones were frequently locked up. Now the sugar cones were always wrapped in blue paper. Now this is all nicely integrated, and we're going to add the thickening and the water. And that's the cornstarch and the water that's all mixed up here. If you ever go to Williamsburg, you will see these cones on display in the various dining rooms. Okay? Now, whip this in. This is the thickening, and it assures you that you're going to have a nice firm custard. I'm going to whip that a little more. There we are. Incidentally, this particular sugar cone is made from original mold and is hand packed. I think they're terribly interesting. Okay, now we're going to add the hot water. And you want to cook this 20 minutes over simmering water. And you can use the double boiler by all means, as we have done here today. Now, at the end of 20 minutes, it should be a thick custard and pass that test for the path, remember that I showed you. But even better, you can use an instant thermometer, and it should register 160 degrees. If it goes up to 180, you're probably going to have problems. So pull it off at 160 degrees, put a piece of plastic wrap directly on top of the hot pudding and cool it. Then we're going to do the puffs, finish them up. And this is how you do it. With a very small knife, because I think they're easier to work with, you're going to cut off the top 1/4. And, oh, these are so crisp and lovely. These can be made in advance and frozen, actually. And see in here, we have something called membranes, if you like. It's quite soft and obnoxious, so get rid of it. You don't want that at all. And then we're going to fill the puff with some of the lemon custard. Now, do this in advance, but not too far, not more than 2 hours, because the puffs would get soggy. But you can do this at least 2 hours in advance. There you are. Now you can stack these in a great roll, and that's called croquembouche. And I've done that too, and that's fun. You hold it together with spun sugar. Now, here we are. We have these beautiful, beautiful cream puffs, and they're just going to knock your socks off. This is a perfect dessert because you can make it in advance, as you can see. Now, to serve these, I like to present them with a simple apricot orange sauce. Here are the ingredients.